Hey everyone, Evan Kirstel here with Doug and Jim, a very special pre-CES edition. Gentlemen, how are you?
Woohoo! Great.
Awesome.
Doing well.
Happy early new year. And I know you guys are just about to get on a flight to wild Las Vegas to go to CES. So we're going to dive in. We're going to have some trivia, some Q&A, some expert insights and analysis. But before that, let's do some introductions. Jim Harris out of Toronto. Who are you for the viewers?
So I'm a business book author. I write on the subject of disruption. So how companies and entire industries can be caught off guard. I also speak at conferences and I'm deeply involved in social.
That is fantastic. So you actually write words on paper, not chat GPT inputs. You actually create
Yeah,
sentences.
yeah, it's like banging out on the keyboard.
Oh wow, that's so old school, but very cool. We also have with us Doug Money. Doug is a what are you, Doug? You're like the geek in chief of aerospace gadgets.
Yes, and I'm also editor-in-chief of Fiber Forward magazine.
I need more fiber, so I was told. So that is a great read. But of course, you are my brothers in arms when it comes to broadband fiber telecom topics, which we'll dive into as well. So let's start. Let's go back in the Wayback Machine because you guys are old and you have a lot of history to share. So tell me, here's a trivia question for, I don't know if we have any viewers. I hope so. When and where was the first CES held? Jim or Doug? Wrong answer is accepted.
Your backyard in 1960. We were all
Wrong.
sitting there eating crabs.
Wrong. So the first CES was in New York City in 1967, originally called the Consumer Electronics Show, later named CES. I think that's the same thing in 98. But yeah, 1967, that's crazy. I didn't know we had gadgets then. So that is, were you there, Jim? Were you at the first? No. Okay. I thought that might be the case. It then moved to Las Vegas. Do you know what year it started in Vegas? Anyone? Bueller.
I'm thinking early 2000s.
Oh,
No,
come
man,
on. You're way off. You're way
I'll-
off. The first CES was 1978
yeah, it
in
was
Las
like late
Vegas.
70s.
Actually, I'm thinking about when did Comdex die?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's about.
Of course, now we have 4,000 exhibiting companies. You know how many exhibitors were at the first CES, that one in New York City in 1967? Over under. I'll give you.
100?
You know what? You're right. Look at that. 100 exhibitors. That was a really easy exhibit hall to attend at the time, right? I mean, you could just sort of walk around. And what year was CES totally virtual? This is for us, who have.
I think 2021.
You missed it by 1 year. CES 2020. This is a wrong answer. No,
That's
it
a
wasn't
wrong
2020.
answer because I was there in 2020.
Okay, it was 2020 was the first super spreader CES. But let's dive in here because CES isn't just about gadgets. We're going to talk some gadgets, but it also is about deep tech, health, wellness, automotive. It's the automotive show, sports technology. So Doug, what are you looking forward to? I assume it's not robotic toilets per se, but there's something more important.
No, I'm done with robotic toilets, and I'm done with automated cat kitty litter machines, which have been, hammered for years. So I'm kind of done. I think pet tech is kind of like I'm kind of tapered out on my pet tech there. I think that I think apps are going to be an interesting issue, meaning that you're going to be able to use your cell phone or a tablet or a device to get medical information, such as blood pressure, heart rate, any number of things, without having to have a dedicated device. So there's like at least 3 or 4 companies that are rolling out apps where basically you put your finger on your cell phone, and 30 seconds later you're going to know your blood pressure. I don't need a cuff. It's great. So I'm looking at that. I'm also looking forward to see there's a theme of maritime tech, which why you do this in the desert is beyond me. But CES has added a maritime tech category this year, so I'm interested to see what's going on there in terms of I don't know. It's just like
maritime.
I don't know, but I'm interested to see what's going to be.
Yeah, there's always new categories and new stuff. That's what's so entertaining. Jim, what about you? Is there a particular industry segment or sweet spot that you're really excited about?
Yeah. I'm really excited. This is going to sound strange, but there's new technology out, fast charging technology that's able to charge your phone completely from 0 to 100% in 13 minutes. And for me, that really excites me because phone charging is a very slow process otherwise.
Well, if you have an iPhone like me, forget about it. They have no interest in fast charging, and they'll never have fast charging. Maybe in 5 years they'll introduce, iCharge, the Apple fast charging technology. One thing that I'm actually really interested in seeing virtually is some drone updates. In past years, there's been so much cool drone tech, drone companies there. They had a drone runway in the past where you can, showcase the latest drones working, which is exciting. Doug, I know you're sort of you're interested in drones, in the drone economy. You got to check out the hall, okay?
I will see. I will see what I can see. I think that agricultural tech will be interesting, and that's part of the drone ecosystem or drone vertical. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, more. And I remember last year when I went, and this was just, I was so excited by this. They have a automated snowblower last year, which people in Buffalo right now would love to have automated snowblower.
Yeah, maybe we could just send an army of them, like stormtroopers to clear. Yeah. I think for people like you and me and Jim who live in snowy areas, I mean that would be a killer app for sure.
Just on the drones, what blows me away is if you go back to 2007, drones were $100,000 each. So it was only military that had applications. And now you can get an entry-level consumer drone for $100. That's 1,000x reduction in cost. And what happens then is there's an explosion of business applications. And I remember Barclays Capital a couple of years ago predicted $100 billion of new value created by drones being applied in business in new ways.
Well, I think the other thing that's going to be interesting is to see what impacts on the drone ecosystem is the war in Ukraine is having, right? Because there's a lot of consumer tech that's being bought off the shelf and getting shipped straight to the front lines for use there. So is that tapering off, or is that increasing the market short term?
Yeah, there's a little drone company that you may have heard of called DJI that happens to be a Chinese company. There's a lot of consternation going on here in the U.S. about DJI. I have like 3-4 DJI drones, so I'm kind of a hypocrite because I'm kind of There are some valid reasons why it shouldn't be allowed in this country, or we should build our own made in the USA drones, or made in Canada drones too are welcome, Jim. But at the same time, they have the best products, the best ecosystem, the best software. So what do you do? I mean, it's kind of a conundrum here for the users.
Well, the DJI has just such a dominant market share. It's more than 50%. I mean, the market has spoken. To your point, Evan, they're the best from whatever point of view you look at it. Best value, best software. I remember CES winner last year. It was called the Air Selfie. It was a little $100 drone, 4 tiny little rotors. You throw it up into the air. It has auto tracking. So it's this tiny little drone that can follow you for $100 and take photos and stream video of you. I just thought it was a kind of really cool application, inexpensive, entry-level price point.
Yeah, inexpensive is the key. Snap had its drone concept a year ago, and they killed it because they just couldn't get the price and the performance to a real consumer level. So CES is also known for, let's say unusual products, to be kind. The wacky, wild products that you see on like USA Today. They love those stories. What are some of your favorite wacky products over the years that you saw at CES?
Oh, I definitely the robot that could fold laundry. I mean, I was all about that. I mean, I saw there were at least 2 concepts there last year, and I was kind of like, can I convince my wife that this would be a good thing? And then, of course, and I don't know if I'd call it wacky, but again, the robot snowblower, man, I was all about that. I was about ready to open up a dealership and throughout the Northeast, and I'd be like making serious coin right about now in Buffalo.
Well, I think it would have to be a SaaS, a robot as a service kind of business to really, you buy a subscription. But Jim, what about you? What are some of the more unusual products that you recall over the years?
Well, one of the ones I thought was really interesting was a machine that rocks a baby to sleep. It mimics a rhythmic rocking, and a newborn falls asleep. Major aid to a mom.
Is there an adult version available of that? Just asking for a friend.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Some of these products are sort of concepts that never see the light of day, but others I've seen get wide adoption. I've seen the baby rockers and the smart cribs. Those are all the rage. I've seen the toilets with the built-in bidet seem like, crazy, but I have one. So what do you think? Are there products that really come to fruition? I mean, we saw lots of announcements over the decades.
So I remember about 10 years ago seeing a Japanese journalist. He was at CES, and he was wearing a helmet, and there was a camera strapped to his helmet, and then a broadcast device. And basically, you look at him and go, geez, that looks nerdy. But what he was mimicking was the use case for GoPro. And so you see these strange things, and it's just not the right form factor, but they're getting at something there. I also remember seeing people in the airport sitting on the ground with an acoustic coupler to the phone so they could send stuff over the modem. And what that's really saying is, hey, we want Wi-Fi. So if you look at some of these really early iterations of it, you go, that is the stupidest thing. But if you really dive into the use case underneath, you can see the future.
Yeah, I think the weirdest thing that I can think of that made me scratch my head was automated mixed drinks. You know, if you didn't want to mix your own cocktail, there were like, again, I'm not sure if Black and Decker or somebody else bought the concept, but there's been a concept where you basically buy the equivalent of a Keurig for making for making cocktails, and and I'm like, that's the part of the allure, the attraction for some people when they make a cocktail is the whole physicality and stirring and the whole presentation. But I mean, you just want to get sloshed with something good. I suppose that Keurig for your boot, for your highball is what you want to have.
Yeah, and a lot of this tech, we think of it as consumer electronics tech, but it really works its way into industries in various ways. And I can see that robotic drink maker being used in a bar. You can't find bar staff, you can't find bartenders in many cases. So, we'll see a lot of tech maybe be used in ways that it wasn't envisioned. There were a lot of firsts at CES. These are a few that I found. The first Atari 2600. I wish. That'd be worth quite a pretty penny these days. The first portable CD player, the first smartphone. Very few people realize it was from IBM, called Simon. What other firsts do you recall? Are you excited about?
Well, I was at, and I'm blurring CES and Comdex maybe. I'm pretty sure it was CES. But in early 2000s, the CEO of Handspring Trio, Jeff Hawkins, he gave a keynote, and I was blown away by it because he said, I was doing an analyst roadshow, and I was in New York City, and a Wall Street analyst came up to me, and he said, look, I can't live without my RIM BlackBerry, my Palm Pilot, and my Nokia cell phone. But why do you make me carry 3 devices around? And in a blinding flash of the obvious, he realized we have to build a 3-in-1 device. And for me, that was really the first smartphone, the Handspring Trio, because it blended those 3 forms of functionality, push messaging or texting, mobile, cell phone, and, a Palm Pilot feature. So for me, that was a historic turning point, that particular CES.
Yeah, that's a good one. Doug, do you have any fond recollections of firsts at CES?
I think seeing large flat screen TVs and then affordable large flat screen TVs, and just watching the quality of television go up from 1080. Now we're at 4K, and in addition to that, watching the price points go down to where you're basically paying by the inch for a TV now. You're not paying for electronics. You're paying for basically the amount of screen width that you're getting. So I mean that's been pretty cool to watch.
Awesome. Let's talk about the event itself. You're a veteran, Jim. You've been multiple times. Doug, any tips or tricks for those attendees that you might want to share with the viewers? I know you've shared some with me that have been phenomenal in the past.
I always take running shoes. Like, what are the most comfortable shoes that you can wear? So I don't care how I look. I'm doing 20, 30,000 steps every single day, and it's 7 days in a row. So comfortable, and a water bottle with you at all times. And so I'm always drinking water as I walk the show floor.
I have, in the past couple of years, I've gone lightweight. I'm just taking a camera, and I'm taking my cell phone, a spare lithium battery. You always must have your spare lithium battery, and in a handheld recorder as well, like one of the mini Sony recorders. I used to carry a backpack with my laptop in there, and I'm at the point where I'm not going to write in the middle of the day. If I need to write, I'm going to go back to my room. But if I've got a solid state recorder, just a voice recorder, I can record interviews and then take it back to my laptop at night with the good Wi-Fi and then schlep it through Otter AI, and I've got transcripts of everything. So I think that's so I'm trying to do lightweight as much as possible. So that basically means, independent voice recorder because of the issues with Wi-Fi and connectivity sometimes, a phone and a spare battery, and that's about it. Oh, and a cord to connect the battery. But I think I'm going lightweight this year. That's one thing. The other thing I want to try this year a little bit more is, especially since there's more crowds this year, it's going to be up to 100,000 people.
Wow.
I think I'm going to slum it a little bit and get on public transportation a little bit more. There's a bus that goes up and down the strip. So I'm thinking that for a couple of the press days, I'm going to just hop on the bus on and off, and rather than stand in an Uber line. And it's an Uber line now. It's not a cab line these days.
Awesome. Great tactics.
Yeah, for that Uber line Doug was just talking about, I have Uber and Lyft. I'll also use taxis. I'll do a trick which I call line walking. So back when it was only cabs, there'd be a 4-hour wait for a taxi. I'd go to the front of the line and saying, I'd start, are you going to the Venetian? Are you going to, I'd walk back until I found someone. Hey, I'll split the cab with you. Or,
oh, brilliant.
And then you'd get a half price trip to the Venetian. The other thing I do, to Doug's point, because absolutely spare lithium ion battery, I take my laptop so I can be live tweeting the keynotes and stuff. But I every year research which is the fastest mobile bandwidth of the providers in Las Vegas this year. And then I go buy a hotspot from them with a new SIM card for unlimited data for a week. Because when you're in like the Venetian Ballroom with 3,000 of your closest journalistic friends, and they're all on the Wi-Fi, like you can be sipping bandwidth. So I want to always have an option to get out of whatever is the public Wi-Fi. So I've used that in past. I can see Doug has something about this.
Well,
Doug always has an opinion on broadband. So yes, Doug.
Well, my light bulb went on, and I think Jim, one of the low key stories that I think we're going to have to watch for is how good is the 5G coverage in Las Vegas? Specifically, is who's got ultra wideband and how accessible is it within the conference venues and the sessions and such? I mean, I'll tell you, I had a real eye opener. I went to the Washington Wizards basketball game 2 days ago, and I pulled out my cell phone. And Evan, I think I forwarded you the screen snapshot of it. I got like 2 gigs sitting in my, 2 gig on my phone. It's like if I can get 2 gig or, upstream speed, if I can get, 19 to 20 megabits a second out of the Wi-Fi, out of the 5G coverage, then I'm a winner, right? And,
yeah, I think they obviously have, in-building coverage there.
Well, the question is, whose in-building coverage is it, and how good is it, right? Because part of the issue is who pays for it. Is if we find that Mandalay Bay, for instance, which is where all the press events are going to be, if Verizon has invested the money to upgrade to 5G ultra wideband, that's a win for them, and that's a win for us, meaning journalists. If they haven't, meaning that they expected the owners of that property to pay for it, then we're all screwed. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. And then there's this whole issue of, well, if Verizon did it, did AT&T do it? Did they both do it?
So my life hack here when it comes to mobile is eSIM. So on my new iPhone 14 Pro Max, I have on eSIM all 3 carriers. I have a Prime carrier. I have 2 eSIMs. So I have T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T on my one device. And only one line is active for voice and text, but it actually load shares data across all 3 networks. you go into your settings. So again, that's my trip. Very expensive. I wouldn't advise that for your average family plan, but you can do that with eSIM now on any new device, including like Samsung as well as the iPhone. And it's pretty cool. And you can do it through not just the carriers, but their MVNOs too. So you can kind of get the network, best network for the time. Let's dive into industries now. I know you guys are experts in a number of verticals. Jim, you're an author. You talk a lot about electric vehicles and the automotive sector. Is CES the new automotive show for the global industry?
Well, CES certainly has a huge number of automotive and parts and ways of customizing your car, a lot of audio, car audio, for instance. So there's a whole hall dedicated just to auto. So it is a big show that way, big square footage. And by the way, there's going to be 2 million square feet this year, which is up about 40-50% from last year. But
wow,
the peak pre-pandemic 2020 was 2.9 million square feet. So I think Doug has a reaction to this.
Well, I just think, I have to laugh every time Consumer Tech Association would plug their numbers saying 50% bigger than last year because last year sucked. Okay. and I'm not, and I say that with all love, peace and love to Gary Shapiro and the folks at CTA, but 45,000 people showed up in Las Vegas, and there were a lot of vendors that pulled out the last minute. I mean, you walked into the LG booth, and the LG booth was just this like flat surface with virtual, they put up virtual posters at the last minute by the one guy that they had there. I mean, it was just, there were large open spaces there. So, to tout that you have 50% more space sold than last year is kind of like saying, well, yeah, okay, it's not a pandemic anymore. And in this, and when I think about last year, and I have mixed feelings because I love the experience of being able to go from point A to point B without all the people in front of me. No hassles whatsoever. Now we're moving from 45,000 up to 100,000 people. It's going to be a lot harder to get around. But on the other hand, there are going to be more vendors there. There are going to be more vendors on the show floor, and there'll be more vendors off the floor as well that you can go talk to. So it's going to be an interesting experience running around. I don't know if 100,000 people is the just right size or not, but again, we'll have to wait and see.
So Doug, tell us about your expectations, hopes, plans around space tech. That's one of your obsessions. What do you hope to see there? It's been fairly lean on that side of the world in terms of CES, but what are you hearing?
I think that I think it's still going to be a work in progress for them. They're basically going to take the long haul. I know that one of their larger vendors, Sierra Space, probably will not be front and center like they were last year. But there are, CTA has a track on Friday where they're going to talk about investing in space. And then there's like a couple of other space-related sessions, discussion sessions as well that will be at the Las Vegas Convention Center. So I'm hoping to hop into a couple of those. So I think that CTA is taking the long view, and they're going to try to push. They're going to try to bring in space tech a little bit more because they will see. I think at some point there will be a crossing point where they have to pull space tech, quote unquote, out of this vertical niche and then put it into wider circulation. It's just a matter of they're going to have to invest the time and also find some companies that want to invest the time in to do it. Because there's like certain types of technologies, like for instance, SpaceX and your Apple. Now, Evan, you can get rescued anywhere with your latest Apple iPhone.
Right. I'm ready for duty.
Okay, so when you go off in the woods and you don't tell anybody and you break your leg, you can go.
I don't go off in the woods. I'm an anti walking in the woods kind of guy.
But
I keep
but
the
that,
woods inside, as you can see from the background here. But it's not all work and no play in Las Vegas. So come on, Jim. What are you going to be doing in your off time? Uh, Drinking, shows, eating well. What's going on for you around your
So
evenings?
when I was younger, it was all about the parties. Like I would go and see. I remember, some really great shows, and there were shows that, for instance, Monster used to put on
oh yeah,
a concert every year, and I'd go to it. They were great. But these days, I mean, I get up early in the morning, like 6 a.m., and I walk my 30,000 steps and drink water. And then I might go to one event, like a late night an evening keynote. And then I come back and I'm tweeting, and I go to bed exhausted, and I repeat it the next day. So I don't do any parties these days. Uh, so but what I find exciting in terms of excitement, we have the Indy Autonomous Challenge, which are race cars with no drivers zipping around a racetrack, which is very kind of cool. It's a lot of university students who build these cars, and it's going to be happening again this year. So that's going to be one exciting thing. I'm planning to go to that.
Fantastic. That actually sounds really cool. Doug, how many parties are on your agenda?
probably zero.
You guys are the worst. No, I'm not.
I'll tell
No
you.
wonder I'm not going to hang out with you in person there. I'm just
Um,
kidding. I hate parties more than the next guy, but yeah,
the,
especially crowded
I,
and parties. Yeah.
I do have two things that are on my to-do list. I want to go to a uh, restaurant in downtown Las Vegas called Bacon Nation. It specializes it specializes in all things bacon, so I'm going to hop the bus probably and go up, make a trip up there before the show. The other thing that I have a reservation for is something called Lost Spirits Distilleries in Las Vegas. They have a rum distillery, and they have this evening event where they mix Cirque du Soleil like performances and rum tastings. So I'm going to go on Monday evening, and I'm going to, um, uh, drink some rum and look at the show, and basically get hammered while watching Cirque du Soleil. And then,
That sounds fun. That sounds like a night out. One of the great tips I got from Ray Wang, who actually is in Vegas like every other week, Constellation Research, is getting off the strip and going to
yeah.
Chinatown, which I never thought of like going anywhere up, but there are the amazing Chinese and Asian restaurants like in Vegas at little joints around town, and there's no wait, there's no traffic, it's just fantastic food. So
The short answer to that's yes. If you can ever get off the strip, like I'm going downtown, which is not
mm,
the strip, but also Area 15 is opened up. There's a lot of different interactive type of exhibits at Area 15, like the distillery that I'm going to, and that's right next door to Chinatown. Chinatown has always been on my list of things to do because there's a lot of good stuff in there. And then the other place to go to that I think you went to once upon a time was Lotus of Siam,
mhm.
um, which is in 2 or 3 off-strip locations, which is the best Thai restaurant I think in the United States.
Uh, Doug talked about Cirque du Soleil, and there's something I do if I do have energy at the end of a day. You can buy last minute
Oh yeah,
tickets to Cirque du Soleil, and because I'm there in CES all by myself, like my wife doesn't come down with me, I'm buying a single, and instead of paying $250 for a ticket, if
Mm,
it's that night, you can get front row, not front row, but 5 rows
mm.
back center for like half price.
Wow.
So, and you can even do it as a couple because you can't talk to each other during the performance, right?
Right.
So you get two singles. You're not sitting together, but you've got great seats because they can't, like, who wants to buy a single? So if you have this mentality of, hey, I've got enough energy tonight, I'm going to get a half price ticket to Cirque du Soleil. It can be an amazing show. Although when I went, I was falling asleep during the show because I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
Well, just don't snore. Just don't snore.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you get into is towards the end of the show is energy management, where, when I was young, oh yeah, I got 17,000 steps today, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now I'm kind of like, well, what can I do to minimize the amount of steps that I'm taking on Thursday and Friday? Because, I don't know when you're getting in, Jim, but I'm getting in on Monday night, and then it's like Tuesday, Wednesday are press events. And so even before the show opens, I got 2 days of energy spent on running around to different press events at the Mandalay Bay and in other areas in town. So then I'm going to spend 2 more days walking around between the Las Vegas Convention Center and the Sands. So by Thursday evening, I think, is when I start to drag, and my feet are hurting. Tired.
Well, speaking of dragging, my wife Irma asked, talk about health and wellness. Walking is a very healthy thing. Wearables. I know, Doug, you spent time at the Digital Health Pavilion, and anything that you're particularly excited about for the healthcare tech side of the event, which is a big part now of CES.
I think 2 things. I think there is a digital emergency room that's been set up.
Oh wow!
So I'm going to go. That's definitely on my list of things to see on the show floor. That's one. The other one is, again, as I alluded to before, there's a lot of companies that are rolling out apps where they'll take your cell phone and you'll be able to do blood pressure. Everything that you normally need from a wearable, they'll be able to do through your cell phone.
Yeah, I think blood pressure seems to be the holy grail. We still haven't found a really convenient, easy wearable for blood pressure. So that would be quite a breakthrough. Come on, Apple. You got to deliver here.
So I think those are the two big health trends that we'll see. And it's just funny because that we're moving away from a wearable or a device approach onto an app approach, building on the tools within your cell phone. And that's going to be, or in your tablet too, because there's another one that's just like, yeah, just hold your tablet in front of your face for 30 seconds and it'll give you vitals. That's like, okay, well, and that's cool, not only because of it costs you nothing other than downloading the app, but all of a sudden, it gives a whole new level of a layer of awareness and data when you start doing things like telemedicine, right? Because usually in telemedicine, telemedicine 1.0 is you talking to your doc on a Zoom call, and you're complaining about stuff, and okay, son, okay, I don't need you to come in. I'll write you a script. Being able to add on more vital signs awareness on a remote visit is going to kick things up to another notch where doctors will be able to kind of clue in more and be able to better diagnose and to also catch things that they might not catch if you don't come into the office.
Fantastic.
Right now, our medical model is episodic. So once a year, I go and see my my doctor. But when I fly on a plane, the pilot and co-pilot check every single system before they take off. And imagine we had that proactive approach to our health. In other words, I get up, I put on my wearable, and it checks every single system. And if there's anything out of norm, it throws the data off. So I was fortunate to be at the launch of Train Italia fast train in Rome, Italy, where they installed 1,000 points of presence on this high-speed train. And they're IoT, like Internet of Things. They're connected. And these sensors yell out, hey, this thing is vibrating outside of standard operating procedure. We should replace it tonight before it breaks down next week. So the train doesn't break down as frequently, so higher customer satisfaction. There's actually lower costs because you're getting at things before they break. It's called prescriptive or preventative maintenance. Imagine we applied that paradigm to our health with our wearables. And this is where I think we will get to. In other words, I don't even know that there's something wrong. I'm not symptomatic yet, but the data in my body is showing, hey, you have elevated levels of this, which show you have an infection. You're not feeling any symptoms yet, but we're going to look at it before it gets bad.
No, it's total game changer. I mean, I'm wearing this thing called an Aura ring.
Oh, I knew I was going to ask you.
And there's another competitive ring, I think Movana, a company I've never heard of. It's coming out with one at CES. And so this device is interesting because it does a degree of that. It looks at my average body temperature over time. And if it's elevated, that could be an early sign of COVID or cold or flu before I'm even feeling the effects. So stuff like that, I think, is a real game changer. What do you think, Doug?
I think Jim's partially right and partially wrong. I mean,
I'll take the right part.
There are any number of folks that I've talked to where over the past year where preventive medicine and gradual and more granular interaction with the patient, be it with mental health or be it with physical health, is going to be a benefit rather than the point of you run down and all of a sudden you're bang at the ER going, ah! Okay. So, but the way to do that is not going to be with a wearable. I mean, you're going to look at your phone and then is your phone a wearable? Anyways, but look at your phone or you look at your screen and it'll do a daily diagnostic of you and then apply that data over time. And over time you can monitor trends where, oh, Evan's looking a little bit more flushed for the past 3 days. Has he been drinking too much, or is there something, or does he have COVID? That sort of thing.
Both, but thank you. But I really like Jim's analogy with flying an airplane, particularly given that our healthcare system is now the equivalent of Southwest Airlines. So we definitely need an upgrade to our system. And I'd say in Canada and the U.S. for different reasons. But look, we've gone on a while. We probably.
I just want to, Evan. I want to put in.
Jim has one more counterpoint.
I want to put in one more thing. The best conference I've ever been to in my life, and I go to 50 to 70 conferences a year because I speak at conferences, whether they're in person or digital, is called NextMed. And Evan, Irma, and I were at it, 2019? And it's going to be happening again in 2023 oh, wow, there you go. Wow, that was fast. Wow. And we didn't even talk about this in advance. March 13 to 16 at the Hotel Del Coronado, which, by the way, is where Some Like It Hot was shot with Marilyn Monroe and
no one under 50 knows what the hell that is.
Okay. Evan, there's this great new thing I've learned about it recently. It's called the Google, and if you use the Google and do Marilyn Monroe and Some Like It Hot, you'll find out all about it. But this conference, if you're in the medical profession, is absolutely amazing. You got to attend it. It is mind-blowing in terms of real-time medical treatments and how the healthcare profession is going to shift.
Yeah, there's some pictures here of previous events. This is a dozen years going on already, and it is really extraordinary because of the people. I mean, the best and brightest in so many disciplines and across, not just the sciences, physical scientists, but George Church, biology, digital health tech, practitioners. We explore the mind and mental health, and it's it's something else. I know it's you're a Davos guy, Jim. I know it's not Davos, but it's actually I think much more down to earth than like a big event like a Davos or a CES even. It's a real community of collaborators and thinkers, and so definitely everyone check it out.
Yeah, it's very intimate, and it's run by Daniel Kraft, and in past years it was called Exponential Medicine. So you may have heard of it. It's rebranded now to NextMed. Uh, it. I'm really excited. I'm actually going to be speaking at it. You're going to be there, Evan. I know Irma's going to be there. It's going to be great.
Super exciting. We'll have a special edition to talk about the event little in the new year. But thanks, guys. As fun as always, chatting and catching up in public. So, look, get some rest before the big day. Get your sleep. Do some warm ups, some exercises. Get your calves in order, and we'll be following you at Jim Harris and at Doug on IPCom. The link, the handle is in the tweet. And we'll see you there. We're looking for updates and insights. All right, everyone. Take care, guys.